All right, welcome back to our homework helper for lesson 6.3. I'm going to go ahead and finish the last two problems for you. Just remember, if the first part of the video was enough for you to get the help, extra help that you needed, there's no need to watch this video, or it's just here in case you feel like you need a little bit extra help, you can go ahead and watch it. So remember, I need to factor both the top and the bottom, and we kind of lucked out in the last one at the end of part 2. We didn't really have to factor both of them. Well, we did, it's just they were exactly the same. So I'm coming back and I'm noticing in example 3 that I have my traditional quadratic on the top, and then I have that same situation on the bottom where I think I need to factor something out first. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the top real quick, and I'm going to start thinking about what I need to get the factors of. It looks like 34, 1 times 34. And on the bottom, I think 3 divides into 12, and it sure does. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Here's something that looks very similar to the last problem I just had, which the only difference is the variable. They used the letter K in the last one, and now they're using the letter Y in this one. That's the only difference. So I already know how to factor that one. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how, but I already know how to factor that one. Let's factor the top. All right, so 1 times 34, 1 times 34, sorry, negative 34 is negative 34, and my B term is negative 15. I'm all set up. Okay, so 34 is 1 times 34, and 2 times 17, and I couldn't think of anything else. I checked and checked and checked, but that's okay because I already found it. If this is negative, I can only have one negative here. If I have negative and positive, negative 1 and positive 34, I get when I add positive 33. Well, positive 33 is not going to be negative 15. So I'm going to go ahead and switch them. Negative 1 plus positive 34 is positive 33. But positive 1 plus negative 34 is negative 33. There we go. So here's positive, here's negative. Positive 2 plus negative 17, there's my negative 15. I made it work. Here's my top factored. So I'm going to come down here so I can save some space. And remember, you have 2 parentheses. The variable, the letter goes first, plus 2, the first one, minus 17, the second one. They just go in 1 and 1. Okay, I know I have 3, and I know that I'm going to have my 2 factors with my y and my y. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to factor the bottom. And I got plenty of space down here to factor the bottom. Now remember, the bottom does look like this, right? But it technically has that missing y, and to have that missing y, it's got to have a 0y in it. It has to. Okay, so 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. 1 times negative 4, and then 0 for the other side. 1 and 4, 2 and 2, and negative positive gives me a positive 3. So negative positive, there's my 0. Okay, so minus 2 plus 2. Here is my undefined. Here is my undefined. Here are my excluded values. Here are my excluded values. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. I'm going to do all of them. So first I'm going to say 3 equals 0. That's not true. I don't even have to mess around with the 3 because 3 and 0 are not the same, and there's no variable with the 3. I can ignore it because 3 and 0, they don't equal each other, okay? All I have to do once again is y minus 2 equals 0. So I add the 2, I add the 2. And just like I said in my shortcut, if you already knew, you were going to have a positive 2 from that one. And if you knew from my shortcut, y plus 2 equals 0, you're going to get a negative 2 because you're going to subtract this one. Y equals negative 2. So here are my two excluded values, but yes, technically this is an excluded value, although it doesn't really make any darn sense. Okay, let's go back and simplify because we're done with this problem. Be careful. This is going to cancel out this, and I'm going to get y minus 17 on the top, and the 3 times the y minus 2 on the bottom. There's my simplified part, and my y cannot equal 2 or negative 2. Okay. All right, one last problem, and it's going to bring back that trick that we learned in lesson 6.2, I believe. So once again, if you'll notice on the top, we're missing that n term, that middle b term of my quadratic, and I think 3 goes into 48. And so I just double checked that, and sure enough, 48 divided by 3 is 16. And that's quite helpful because I know that 16 is a perfect square. And whenever I have a perfect square minus a square, I know that I can factor it. If I had plus, I couldn't factor it. And I'm going to leave the bottom right now, the denominator, just the same. So there we go. Now I have to go ahead and factor both. But before I can factor the top, I want it to look like the bottom. So remember, the trick to make the top have the n first is I'm going to make the 3 become negative, and then I can go ahead and switch the square and the 16 on either side of that subtraction symbol. Okay, if I don't do that, if I don't make that 3 negative, then I can't switch them. Okay, now we can go ahead and factor. I'm going to go ahead and factor the top, and I'm just looking at this part. And remember, of course, we got to think there's that 0 n in the middle. So I'm just looking at that part. 1 times negative 16 is negative 16, and my b is 0. 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. And if you already know it, great, but I'm just going to double check. There's my positive. So everybody down here, I know that's 6, negative 2 plus 8, and there's my 0, negative 4 plus 4. There's the factor for my top. So remember, it's the variable, the letter, and then that. It's the variable, the letter, then the next one. Okay? All right. Last one. Let's do the bottom. Let's factor the bottom. One times negative 20 is negative 20, and the number hiding there is 1. All right, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. I'm going to see if we can do a little shortcut here because these videos are running super long. The only one that I know can be 1 is 4 and 5. Stop and think about it. 1 plus 20 is 21. 20 minus 1 is 19. So the only numbers I can get are 21, negative 21, 19, or negative 19. Those are the only numbers I can get from 1 and 20. 2 and 10 can give me 2 plus 10, 12, or negative 12, if I make them both negative. And 10 minus 2, 8, or if I make them negative, move the negatives around, negative 8. So the only one that will give me 1 is 4 and 5. I just have to figure out what combo gives me positive 1 and what combo gives me negative 1. So I'm going to think negative positive, or is it positive negative? So stop and think for a little bit. Which one is it? Okay, I'm going to assume that you stopped and you thought, and -4 plus +5 is the combo that gives me 1. There's my combo that gives me 1 to match my top. Here are my 2 for the bottom. Letter, variable, minus the first one, first factor, variable, the letter, and the second factor. There we go. Okay, we're almost done. This is where we're going to get our undefined from, right? This is where we're getting our undefined. This is where we're getting our excluded stuff from. I'll leave that out for this last one. And I'm going to do that quick over here. N minus 4 equals 0. But some of you already know that since we're adding 4, we're going to get n equals +4, and n plus 5 equals 0. Some of you already know that it's going to give you -5 because we're subtracting the 5 from both sides, -5. All right, so there's my 2 excluded, my undefined terms. These 2 are going to completely cancel out. Here's my final answer, 3, because it didn't go away, n plus 4. Yes, I would put the parentheses. Your only other option is to multiply it through, which you could do if you so choose, and then n plus 5. And remember, you don't need the parentheses on the bottom. I just like the look of it. This should be an acceptable answer. If you multiply the 3 through, you would have 3n plus 12 on the top, and you'd still have n plus 5 on the bottom. These 2 answers are exactly the same. These are exactly the same, and Khan Academy should take either one. N does not equal 4 or -5. Those are the 2 that you want to choose. Okay, let me slide that over so you can see. Hope this helps. You guys are doing great. Have a happy Easter, and I'll see you next week.